I'm Paul Rees, your International Executive Business and Personal Career Coach. Join me on your series of the Business Health and Emotional Wealth The Easy Way radio show, improving your high-performance thinking to high-performance success on UK Health Radio. My radio show will change how you think your productive future and manage the natural unlimited possibilities to your business and personal life success forever. This is no gimmick or another universal attracting exercise. I invite you to my listening coaching programs that will introduce to you a new power clean thinking process never realized or expected within your potential ever. I'm Paul Rees, and I invite your listening on the radio show Business Health and Emotional Wealth The Easy Way to your success on UK Health Radio.
Emotions are your value, and value is your business.
Are your value, and value is your
business.
Yes, here we are again. Every time I'm going to sing that.
No.
I love it. It's going to come out. So, hey, hi to all our listeners globally, and welcome to another Accolade Academy Emotional Corporate Training's very own radio show. Your emotional wealth and business health, the easy way, the real easy way. Understanding your power thoughts into business and success. Broadcasting through the wonderful UK Health Radio.
Yes.
And who's with me today? It's got to be the wonderful, beautiful Debs. So yes, I'm Paul Rees, and on today's show we have Accolade Academy's very own emotional technician, Deborah Sinead.
Oh dear.
Deborah Sinead.
You sound like my mother.
Shouldn't say things like that. So how are you, girl?
I'm fine. I'm really good. It's great to be here again, of course. I was loving last week and this week with the 4-day week.
Oh, yes.
But the trouble is then you have to be doubly busy afterwards, because it's like you've got to cram everything into the 4 days that you normally have the 5 days to do.
Well, actually, you need a rest coming back to work, do you know what I mean? Because you just push it all in. But, what I'd like to touch on is that I had, getting back into this week, easing back in after that Easter holiday. But what's important is that, how you energize is actually by having guilt-free time off.
Yes.
That's the secret.
Because it's been nationally put there. So you don't have to feel bad about it.
Yeah, but it's important to recognize that also. And so many people, so many entrepreneurs and business people, and these high-intensity career people, what they find is that they so struggle to enjoy the recharge of time off. And how important that is there.
Well, yeah, because they've probably got a million things going around in their mind that they should be doing and could be doing, and because when it's your own, and it's your love and it's your baby.
Yeah, when you
just want to keep going with it. So
you're so emotionally attached,
Exactly, but it's so important then to have that time off, because when you come back, you do feel more energized and you do a better job.
So what is guilt-free time off? I mean, let me just look at that. I mean, is guilt-free time off when you actually knock all your phones and tablets and make sure your laptop is stayed in the office?
No. I think there'll be counselling for people if that had to happen.
What is guilt-free time off when you actually, realign your thoughts to more so to uplifting in your personal life, where you avoid checking your emails, you avoid thinking about what you should be doing.
Well, I feel like it's hugely important, and the reason is because like we always say, you are your business. So if you're not rested and you're not in that good frame of mind because you've been overthinking and overworking, then you're actually going to just do the opposite to what you're looking to achieve.
Yeah, and you know what, I'm going to be truthful and say that's probably one of the hardest things for me.
Right. I
mean, for those listeners who have been in the last couple of weeks, so they know myself and Deb, we're husband and wife as well as business partners. And from me at home that in order for me to switch off, I have to actually be doing.
Right.
I rarely sit down and sit there in my birthday suit and watch television and do nothing.
Absolutely not.
That's something that's really hard for me to do. So I'm always doing something around the home, or I'm always potching with something.
Well, you have your finger in loads of hobby pies.
I do. But then you should say no now and then, and maybe I wouldn't have so many hobbies,
I don't say no.
Truly. Well, just finishing that, be aware of where your thoughts are when you are giving yourself, and it almost sadly becomes a gift when you have time off. When you're running your own business.
But it's as necessary to have the rest period as it is to be on time for work, as to get everything you want in during the day. You know, look at it as another strategy to improve your business rather than taking away from the business, because that's exactly what you are doing.
And I also said, if you're carrying that guilt, then also what it's reaffirming is your doubt in your business also at the same time. The doubt in the success of your business, because if you feel that you have to constantly have that thought of it is, I should be.
Where's the trust?
Yeah, exactly. Where is the trust in who you are in the business?
Exactly.
Yeah, isn't it? But isn't it such an easy process when you talk about it? But yet practicing it, it's like, it's hard as nails, man.
Well, it's harder for some than it is others. I'm quite good at it.
But you have this wonderful way. You're like an introvert. I mean, you re-energize from watching a film. I don't know how you do that. I've often wondered, how do you energize from watching a film? Because I go completely the other way.
You see, some people, being around other people, it feels to them as if they're being energized. They're feeding off other people's energy. But when that's an extrovert. But when you're an introverted person, it doesn't mean what people think, that you're a hermit. What it means is that when you're around other people, they drain your energy. And, you know, not on purpose or anything, but then I re-energize by being by myself, by reading a book, by watching a film, you know, and it's good to know that about yourself as well, you know, because if you're constantly around people and then you're feeling really tired and everything, then, you know, you'll need to know that you might be introverted.
Well, I re-energize from doing the opposite to what you do then and drag you out. Come on, Dave, we're going out.
You know.
I mean, but hey, it's good practice. And please, you know, be aware of them. We will talk about more of the guilt versus rest of the upcoming weeks. Definitely,
it's
I think it's
really important.
It so is. It's always absolutely there. And you know, going on to, let's talk about because every mealtime I'm digesting some book that you're reading. So tell me about your new book. What are you into this week?
Well, I've been reading Invisible Power. And one of the authors is Ken Manning.
I met Ken.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Anyway, you didn't want to pinch your time on airtime and things, you know what I mean?
Name dropping now on the show. But yeah, it's amazing because it talks about the insights, your insights and your realizations and your wisdom. And a lot of people don't go into that part of their selves. They're like more forward thinking, and which is fine. And it's the way to be. But also, what they talk about is what's happening to your subtle thoughts and your subtle feelings, you know, and I just felt like it was amazing because it's, you know, a lot of people go day to day without realizing that they have a whole wealth of wealth of wisdom, you know, that's there that people don't tap into, which I loved. And also they talk about living from the inside out. And so, you know, there's this misconception that anything that happens externally from yourself can cause you to have emotions.
Well, do you know what? Let me come in on that because we have, and I am just hugely excited about today because we've got a change of schedule for today.
Yes, we do.
Because we have a guest that I've kind of got to know very well these last couple of months, certainly these last 6 to 8 months or so. And, you know, and we often talk about spiritually generous people because I've met so many spiritual generous people in my life. But you know what? I've rarely met someone that has an entrepreneurial, spiritual, generous way about themselves. Yep. And that's something that is massively rare in the corporate world when you get a person that can mix the spirituality in that generous way about them. They can mix that into an entrepreneurial way. It's hard to find, and it really is. And this week, we have this man in our room. Yeah, here he is. Neil Lloyd, come on, let's give him on. How great is this? Absolutely fantastic. Thank you for coming along.
Thank you for inviting me both. It's a pleasure to be here on this beautiful sunny day.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Isn't it? I was interested about this idea of rest as well. You were talking about. Someone told me once, in business, you need to rest like a rock star. And I mean, I
like that.
It's really important to rest and give yourself that time. And it's something that I really struggled with when I started my business. I really struggled with that. And now I think, oh, actually, I need to build time in my diary to rest
Right.
and enjoy it
Yeah.
and love it, actually.
Let me come in and just give our listeners a bit of a background on lovely Neil. You know, Neil, my knowing of Neil is you run in this part of Wales. That is, and you know, selfishly, you're keeping it to Wales at the moment, but hopefully,
Yes, more news soon on that.
yes. Hopefully, this will become something that's international. Neil runs an incredibly wonderful networking business. Is that the right way to pronounce it? I mean, you correct me if I'm incorrect there.
Yeah, we do. Networking are really at the heart of some of the stuff that we do. So I describe it as a business evolution network.
Wow.
I love that.
And I've used the word evolution on purpose, really, in terms of there's a lot of talk about growth, and growth's a great thing, but often sometimes it can have a connotation of getting bigger and bigger, and sometimes it can be about doing things differently as well for some people.
Oh, I love that.
So you know, and the inner growth doesn't necessarily mean we're going to sort of create a multi-million-dollar or multi-million-pound business. It might be actually I want to show up in a way that that creates something new or something forgotten or whatever it is for that business.
So the focus of the business is really to not just about the end result, which many are looking for is the profits, but actually about the growing who you are in this also. Because I mean, Zokiteer, where did that come from?
Yes, I was going to ask you that. I like
The
it.
name,
Yeah.
I wish it was something really, really intelligent, but
It never is, really.
it sounds really, really corny, but it was actually from a dream. And I woke up one morning and it was a beautiful, crystal clear morning. And I remember it was about 6 a.m. and I'd had this dream about this business and this name. And it wasn't quite Zokiteer at that point, but it was something. It was shapes and colours. And I kind of, I got on the table, on the kitchen table, and I laid across a big sheet of paper, and I just put all my ideas and thoughts down, and I went for a nice long walk as well in the countryside, and it kind of emerged. And I don't know where it came from, it just emerged, and as soon as it emerged, I thought, that's it.
Wow, that's actually a really good story
Isn't
for a name.
it is nothing bland about that, Neil, that's for sure. Well, let me come in and just talk about my experience in the networking events that you run. So what we do here, so in Wales we have I'm unsure as to how many networking events go on a weekly basis.
Lots.
I mean, there are, and these are held, in various venues all over Wales, and what happens there is basically any business gets invited and can come along. And it's a 2-hour event generally, and in that event then it's organised incredibly well. Each one there's always light lunch or light breakfast depending on the time of day of the event, and then you get to go and you get to showcase your business. You get I love the idea that what happens is basically you sit around the table and you get a 2-minute, 3-minute slot to introduce your business, and that to me helped me so much in my career. Because you learn to power advertise, and you actually learn a lot about yourself during those times. And what I found is that because a little later on, I want to talk about the easiest way to promote yourself in these events. What really makes a skilled person. Because it's a lot to do with self-worth. It truly is that people stand up there and say, okay, I'm Paul Rees, my company's Accolade Academy, Emotional Corporate Training, and this is what I do. And this is how you can benefit from my business. But what you've done is you've created that environment. I mean, an ecosystem that's so wonderfully friendly. And this is hard to find in networking events. It truly is, because it's such an ego-based event. Because everybody's coming in to flex their business muscles. They truly are. Now, this is what attracted me to Zokiteer, is you've switched that. And that is so hard to do. Nobody's doing that. Nobody is switching and taking the ego out of the networking event and creating an environment where it's almost spiritual, where you're going in and you're able to professionally promote your business in an environment that allows you to appreciate yourself there, and the support is fantastic. It truly is there.
Oh, I'm really glad to hear those things. That's music to my ears. I think, yeah, I mean, when we come to a lot of business events, I think there's always this temptation that we need to put a mask on and we have to show up and be this kind of super uber business person. And, this is what we do, and we're fantastically successful, and we can do this and we can do that. And I think what we lose when we do that, or when there's an environment which encourages that, is we lose the actual connection, and I think it's the connection that's really important.
Yeah.
Sometimes we call these little tables, like share and grow tables. We sit around, and it's about knowledge sharing. It's about emotional sharing. It's about sharing, I suppose, a sort of deeper sense of ourselves, because that's when we start to talk about those kinds of things and discuss those kinds of things. That's when we find energy match with other business owners, and that's when we find opportunities to collaborate, or opportunities to find something out that we didn't know. And I'm a big believer that everyone you meet knows something you don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we always have these barriers.
Yeah.
And it's the ego, that we want to tell people what we know.
Yeah.
But actually, if we take that, I suppose, if we take the attitude that, actually, what can I learn from this person? What's this person? What's this person's knowledge? What's their wisdom?
Yeah. Yeah.
What have they, through their life, have come to understand?
Yeah.
And actually, if we think like that, how much better is life?
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. Agreed. What I liked was the fact that you put the word emotional in there. Because I feel like, obviously, because of what we do at Accolade, but a lot of emotion is left out of business.
Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so important. It's so central to who we are as human beings. We're human beings for,
Isn't that great?
Foremost, yeah.
So central, What a profound thing to say. You completely underestimate yourself. You are an amazing man. Truly are. Because let's backpedal a little then, and go back maybe 10 years ago. Because me and Deb, we jumped ship. And we shot off to the US because we knew it was so much easier in order to introduce coaching out there in this country. Yeah. And I take my hat off to you, because this is something you started a long time ago. Would that be correct there?
It is, yes. So my background, funny enough, my very first thing I trained in, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 18, and probably the best thing for me to have done at that point would have been to travel the world. But I went to university, did all that thing. I trained. I became an ophthalmic optician.
Oh wow!
And eventually got into management, and that was where I had my first kind of taste of this idea of people being so important. When you're leading people, managing people, you realise it's not just about processes and getting tasks done. Actually, there's a lot more to it than that, and it's based in who we are as people, and how we're different and how we're alike at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
So so I kind of started getting this idea of, or become more interested about, what makes people tick, what are we here for, what's this whole thing about, and I think it was at that point I started to become more interested in coaching, in training. I started doing qualifications. I started reading books. There's so many fantastic books out there. I know you're a great reader, Deborah. And I think there's so much knowledge out there. It's all there, ripe for the picking.
Did you find, Neil, that you were hitting, a almost deaf ears for a long time, hitting that brick wall, trying to introduce, almost a kind of camouflage spiritual coaching, process into the corporate world?
Yeah, you do. And what I found that there was a percentage of people who would get it, and there was a percentage of people that were quite interested in that, not quite sure what it is about, but I'm listening. And there were people that were, whoa, this is there's a major resistance here. I'm not, this is not.
What was the percentage there, do you feel, of the resistance?
Oh gosh, I think it changed depending probably on the environment.
At Out There Live TV, we turn real-life stories into powerful, professionally produced documentaries. Whether you've led a quiet family life filled with wisdom, overcome adversity, exited the life of crime, built a business from scratch, or walk the road to recovery, your story deserves to be told. Your life story has an evergreen value. Through intimate interviews and cinematic storytelling, we honor your legacy with authenticity and heart, because your life is a one-of-a-kind fingerprint with value that lasts forever. With our dedicated team, you will create your own 6-part documentary series that your loved ones will cherish for decades. Out There Live TV, your life, your story on film. Visit outtherelivetv.com to start your journey today.
Or the specific department or division or organisation I was working with. But, from about 20% to right up to, even perhaps 80 in some cases.
Wow. I mean, that's hard work.
Yeah.
That is hard work. I mean, it's been easy for us because we kind of been preaching the converted across the pond, but for yourself, But
it's great to see the transformation. I was doing some sort of emotional coaching work with one here in Wales, actually. And there was one person, there was a group of about 10 people, senior managers, and there was one person that looked so stern at me all the time, and I thought, oh gosh, I got my work cut out here, and they were challenging everything I said, and really looked unhappy. And I thought, gosh, they're going to be putting lots of bad stuff on the feedback form. I'm going to get a letter, a complaint. And then the next day, I got this wonderful feedback form, and letter from her saying how fantastic she found the experience.
Yeah.
And absolutely loved it. And that completely blew me away because it wasn't what I was expecting at all. So I think, there is this sort of transformative effect. And people do sometimes resist that inner change.
Yeah.
But I think there comes a point where people think, actually, do you know what? Let's go with it and see what happens.
And this is definitely the way forward for businesses now. I mean, we are seeing that the way business is being practiced has so changed this last 3 or 4 years, and even the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And we are finding that most definitely we are seeing that the new startup to the very established businesses are realizing the importance and seeing the importance of the working on who they are to better what their business is.
Yeah.
And and what I love is that you've been doing this for decades,
Right?
And I love, and again, I want to just push in another compliment. I love how you have cleverly brought that into networking, which is such a nerve-wracking. I mean, let me just touch on one question we had from. Let me just get my scrappy paperwork here. Sorry. Okay, so a question from Sarah Scarborough in Ohio, and she's a professional practitioner. So what is the best advice to help with confidence when presenting or showcasing your business? So again, this is networking, touching on the network, and it's kind of pretty apt for today, which is fantastic for ourselves.
Yeah.
And for me, when that question comes in, it's all about, when you're presenting, it's about the belief in your self-worth, the self-worth that you have in what you're promoting.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think when you have that belief, that shines through. So I think sometimes it's worth spending some time in preparation, quiet time, meditation, or however it works for you, just to reconnect with yourself about why you do what you do.
Tell us about reconnecting, and just touching it briefly, reconnecting meditation there, because I know you're very spiritual, and not all the listeners, I mean, I've mentioned meditation in the corporate world many times, and it's like I've said something very naughty, or I've said something rude about myself. So, tell us about that briefly, please.
Well, there's lots of different forms of meditation, and I suppose it's about being mindful or listening really to what the world and yourself is telling yourself. And there's different forms of doing that. Sometimes when I'm in the corporate world, I'll do a very, very simple mindfulness type meditation, which is really just about being in the present.
Okay.
So we can get pulled in all different directions, and we can get pulled in time. We can get pulled back into our past and all our past ideas, and we can get pulled into anxiety about the future, for example, and what the future might hold. And sometimes it can be very profound, I would say, to focus on the right now, because that's all we have in the moment, is the moment, the
Yeah,
right now moment.
yeah, yeah.
And what mindfulness meditation is a simple exercise where you can just focus on what's happening right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what you're feeling, what you're sensing, what you're hearing, what you're seeing, you know, what's actually in your environment
Yeah.
and inside your heart and inside
Wow.
your mind. And that helps us to understand ourselves, really. And that's really our biggest, one of our biggest goals, I think, in life, is to understand self.
And that would also, you know, create a trust on yourself and your belief in what you're doing also. Do you feel?
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. So I think once you have that moment and you can, it can be useful to do some rehearsal as well. You know,
Yeah.
speak in front of a mirror, see how it feels. I mean, I'm a big fan of mirror work.
Yeah.
You know how, you know, whatever your pitch is going to be, or however you can explain or describe your business. If you have clarity inside your mind and you have belief inside your heart, then it's just going to flow.
Yeah.
And if you're a little bit nervous, I mean, the first time I went to a networking event was years and years ago, and we sat around the table, and I felt so out of my depth, and I actually felt ill. And I felt on my stomach, I felt sick.
Nausea.
Nausea. And partly because I didn't know what was going on or what was expected of me, and partly I don't think at that point I'd really got my message fully right and authentic for me. So all those things were at play, and I felt, you know, get me out of here. But I think, you know, just doing a bit of sort of quiet preparation at home can be really helpful. And just listen to yourself.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to be who you are. You just be
There
who
it is.
you are.
That's perfect.
And that is all you need to
Yeah,
be.
that's perfect. And I completely agree. It's being who you are. I love, you know, the idea of practicing in front of the mirror. I mean, if you're embarrassed to watch yourself, then you're going to be passing that energy of you being embarrassed to other people. So be comfortable with who you are there. So let me just because, you know, today's topic is networking into success with confidence and, you know, self-worth, your talent, basically. That's what you're doing in a networking event, is self-worthing your talent.
Absolutely.
And you know, and again, there are very few network events that I've been to that allow for it, where Zokiteer does, and you can tell that it's been built by someone very spiritual. You can tell that, absolutely, you truly can. So before Deb comes in next, I know Deb has some questions for you, because we've been looking at your information sheet there, and there's a lot of stories in there, Deb, isn't it? Let me touch on some contact details for our Neil then, okay? So I'm going to just blurt these out there, Neil, if that's okay, because we have a website.
Absolutely.
So the website is www.zokit, that's ZOKIT, zokit.co.uk. And of course, the email then is hello@zokit.co.uk. And we have a UK office number here, which is 0292 1111232. Let me say that again, because there's a lot of ones in there. It's 0292 1111232. And that will get you through to the office and things. And we'll give this the details out before the end of the show again. So get a pen and paper there, because you'll want to go onto the website. There's so much on there. Okay, Deb.
Okay. So here we asked you about, you know, your relationship, and you said in a relationship, but also happy being single.
I mean, that's such a double-edged sword.
It really is.
Yeah, it's interesting because throughout my life, I've probably been 50-50-ish single or in a relationship. And I must say that I'm happy with both. And I don't know whether that's unusual or weird.
I think it's great, because it just says about you, you know, you're having a love affair with yourself as well. So that sounds great.
Yeah, I've never sort of felt this need to be completed. But I fully understand people that have that romantic notion as well. I think that's a great thing. But there's something beautiful about having a relationship, a very close relationship with another human being. And that is something that you can miss out on sometimes when you're single. But there's other things about the benefits, if you like, about being single too. So I think whether you're single, you know, you're listening at home in a single relationship, I think it's just enjoying what you have and not feeling you need to be you're missing out. There's lots and lots of different ways to live and to be, and there's lots and lots of different relationships. And I think some people have maybe several close friends, and they invest a lot of time in those friendships. I think some people find a life partner, and they explore that very deeply as well. And I think we're all a bit different, so I think that's where it came from.
Yeah,
really.
no, it was great. We loved the answer, and I felt like it was that. I felt like you were happy being single because you would be happy in your own skin, as well. Because there is pressure today, isn't there? It's like you look at the Bridget Jones films and things. There is a pressure to be in a relationship, otherwise, people start thinking there's something wrong with them when it's not the case.
Or there's this fear that oh gosh, I'm going to be alone in the dance hall when I'm old and everyone else is to be in this. So I think, if someone is not happy being single, I think sometimes it's a bit of sort of understanding or searching within oneself. It can be useful, because it may be. There's been times in the past where I've been single, and it's not because I wanted to be single. It's just because I've had other stuff in my life, and I've kind of let that take over. And then I thought, actually, what do I want? But other times I thought, actually, I'm having a whale of a time being single. It's fantastic, and I didn't feel I needed a specific
do you think
relationship
then, Neil,
at that point.
Do you think then, Neil, that the life of an entrepreneur, and a business person as you are, that do you find it it's hard to maintain a balance then? Because we often talk with entrepreneurs, and some, I remember me and Deb, the first few years there, we really worked hard in our marriage to find a balance of work and marriage, but because of the overlap in pressure. So what do you find that you have that mix then, because you're an entrepreneur, busy entrepreneur that only has 50% of time for a relationship.
25
or 25, I suppose. I suppose what we're looking for is for the listener to get a sort of indication of because is that how you find your balance?
I think there is what I'm finding now, currently in a relationship, is that there can be a grounding feeling to having something outside of your business that is as or even more important, and something that you can work at and enjoy and explore. And I find that incredibly balancing and grounding, and also opens up my eyes to different world views. I mean, that's the great thing about having a relationship, is you've got someone with you for a long time, a big portion of the day or the week. That is a sounding board. That is someone that you want the best for them, and they want the best for you, and there's an emotional power in that,
which can also feed into your confidence in your work also.
Absolutely.
Do you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you've got a good relationship, and you're both wanting it to work, and you're both investing in it, then that is absolutely great. But there are challenges. I mean, I think if you're an entrepreneur and you're got a relationship with another entrepreneur, there's a certain set of challenges, because you're probably both, very entrepreneurial minded. You're probably working odd hours, different types of stresses, and then I think you've got some entrepreneurs that may be in a relationship with someone who has perhaps got a more traditional job or career. And I think that kind of brings a whole set of other challenges as well.
True.
And sometimes it can be around values, and do you have similar values or the same values? And sometimes an entrepreneur's values can feel sometimes at odds with someone who perhaps has a more sort of traditional job, 9-to-5 career.
And you find then, sorry, I'm cutting in on that. I'm aware of time, and there's so much I wish to talk about, because
me too.
we got him here, and I know I'm taking your time also, Deb. I do apologise, but you find there that it's important in a relationship, because the whole program is about emotional wealth and business health. So it's important in the relationship to be more aware of your partner's feelings and emotions and confidence when you have two professional people working together, but also living together in a relationship.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's when you're in a relationship with someone, there's no off switch. We're always communicating. What we do and what we don't do communicates stuff to our partner and to our clients as well, and to our business colleagues. So yeah, it's important. I think, like you say, really to honour that and to support each other, and find a way that you can actually, I suppose, just like if you have, I mean, if you've got like a house plant and you've got to look after the house plant, you've got to water it, give it light, and all these things. It's the same with a relationship. We have to water it,
Brilliant.
we have to feed it, we have to give it light, we have to do all these things. And yeah, it is constant in a way, but that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because it gives us a way of being and living in the moment.
Yeah. Which is exactly what you brought into your Zokiteer networking events. Isn't it great? Because we talk about all the time how the business is who the person is.
Right.
And when you get that feel of a Zokiteer networking event, that's exactly what it feels like. And that's what's so attractive about it. It has this hidden white noise of comfort that comes in from behind. It truly does. It's like you don't know what makes it feel so easy, but something does, which is what you've created through who you are. Through the, and let's just talk about before Deb comes in there, because every time you're talking, you keep bringing these wonderful. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. You keep opening up this mind of questions. You truly do that. And I want to go back to. I mean, let's just before we go into some other things, the importance of networking.
Yeah.
Let's just touch on the importance of it. Now, when we use the word networking, it has a sharpness to the word. It has a kind of a step back feel when you it doesn't it when you say, have you been networking? I mean, I've met the amount of businesses that I've met and business owners that are so fearful of networking, but yet it's one of the most important parts of the business. So just tell us about the importance of net and how the best piece of advice that you can give that can ease someone into network. And I know I've kind of put that one on you because it wasn't on the format, but I know you can think on your feet, so you're a good man there.
Well, yeah, it's absolutely essential. It's such an important element of business. And I think you're right that there is a sharpness to the word. And I think sometimes people feel that networking is something you have to do. Like you have to do the washing up, or you have to do the ironing. You have to do some networking. I better do a bit of networking, and and I think that's the wrong way to think about it. And actually, networking kind of is a strand through your business. And all of if you think about every business, we're not islands. We're not all individual people. Everything that we do requires other energies, other people. That's just the nature of being human. Yeah, I've not got where I am today without other people. There's just no way. I might think, I'm a standalone entrepreneur, I've done these amazing things, I've achieved these goals, but it's not been me. It's been me and my networks, and I'm eternally grateful for the people that have helped me create that. So no matter what type of business you have, there will be an element of network. And networking is really about finding sort of strategic alliances rather than finding direct customers per se.
That's the one, isn't it?
And I think there's this idea that people feel they have to sort of sell to people, and they direct selling to people, and again, that's not. You might, when you go out networking, you might make some sales, and that's fine, but that's not really the overarching goal. It's about creating these strategic alliances, collaborations, and the things that will help bring yourself and your business forward. And even if you've got you've got businesses. If you look at Facebook and you look at some of these big giant IT companies and social media companies, networking would have been a big part of growing those. It would have been the people that the CEOs and the directors would have met. They would have met in person at a place somewhere, and that would have enabled them to create their create partnerships that then have opened up opportunities for them to grow their business. So I think there's this kind of falseness in the way that we feel that we can just tap away at our computer, press a few buttons, and then suddenly, this amazing business is going to happen. Yeah. And I think the reality is that, actually behind that, whether you've got an IT-based business or not, there's always an element of networking. So your other question, remind me, was about how people,
Yeah, I mean,
if they're nervous, is it?
yes. But also, I mean, you just sparked something else in my mind there, you know, and because I love the way that your analogy there is that, you know, what we're doing is the network is not about a sale. It's just like, because you talk about the plants earlier, and so really it's instead of where networking is where you're actually adding plant food to your plant to create better growth.
Yeah.
That's really what networking is about, an awareness rather than the actual physical sale at that time given.
Yeah, and the great thing about it is it has this massive amount of benefits to networking because there is a little bit of a sort of like a sounding board, like we talked about in a relationship. When you're going out to a networking event and you're talking about your business, you're also getting real world feedback from people.
Yeah.
And that helps us develop our message, understand what people want, how people are responding to what we're putting out there. And that is so invaluable.
Yeah.
And so it is about just switching on that antenna, if you like.
Yeah.
And picking those things up. And which is why, you know, these sort of real world live events you know, are well, to me, are so essential in finding how you want to grow and evolve your business.
Yes, because everybody who has their business, they love their business.
Yeah.
You know, they love it and it's a one-way, you know, projection out. And so, you know, to get that feedback and to be ego-free and accepting that feedback back, you know, the real-life feedback, you know, is, like you say, so important.
Well, let me just throw Neil's contacts out there again there, so people can get hold of Neil, you know, because this Zokit is going to be an international name. At Out There Live TV, we turn real-life stories into powerful, professionally produced documentaries. Whether you've led a quiet family life filled with wisdom, overcome adversity, exited the life of crime, built a business from scratch, or walked the road to recovery, your story deserves to be told. Your life story has an evergreen value. Through intimate interviews and cinematic storytelling, we honor your legacy with authenticity and heart, because your life is a one-of-a-kind fingerprint with value that lasts forever. With our dedicated team, you will create your own 6-part documentary series that your loved ones will cherish for decades. Out There Live TV, your life, your story on film. Visit outtherelivetv.com to start your journey today. It truly is there. It's. I mean, I know that we are letting the cat out of the bag. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Is it? Because I know we are, but I know that Neil has got big plans for Zokit people, and you know, do watch out, because when these network events hit your country and you hear that name Zokit, that is the place to go. It truly is. So let's just look at that. And of course, so we have the website again, which is www.zokit.co.uk. The email, if you want to speak to our Neil there, is hello@zokit.co.uk. And of course, then we have the office number, which is 0292 1111 232, and that's 0292 1111 232. What a great number. How do you get all those ones in there? Do you know what I mean? It's just fantastic.
I actually love the name Zokit. Do you know what it sounds like to me? It's like something that's just, it's like a rocket.
Yeah.
You know, that's gone,
the verb, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like somebody's like in the baseball, you know, just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
it's got that kind of forward feel. I love
And
it.
you know, I'm going to let another cat out the bag because, again, I'm not sure if I should be sharing this, but I will anyway. And Neil, you can beat me later. But Neil will be releasing a book in time also.
Yeah.
So there will be a book coming out there. So just briefly touch us on that book there.
Well, I've always been interested in positivity and happiness, and not in a sort of superficial way about those all sort of happy, clappy, and smiley, but what's actually inside. And to me, where we are now in I suppose in the world and in culture, is that we've gone through a process of, you know, the Industrial Revolution. We've looked at things like structures and processes and all this stuff, you know, in business. But actually, all that stuff we can handle. We've got, you know, there's so much history, there's so much evidence already about all that stuff. We've got that handled. What's important now, I feel, is about our happiness. You know?
Absolutely.
And what is it? What is it that makes us happy?
Yeah.
And how do we get there?
Yeah.
And people often think about happiness as something they'll get when they get the yacht, or when they get the business, when they get their dream house, or when they get whatever it is they want to get. And but it's a little bit the wrong way around. And in fact, actually, if we can work on a happiness, and it is a journey, if you work on a happiness comes, and then success comes afterwards.
Right, and I've read that as well, and that's the great thing. I just wanted to say as well, like a lot of people don't know what happy feels like. What is it? You know, going back to the actual nature of it, because a lot of us think that you know, different things, like you said, make us happy.
Yeah.
But what is happiness? How does it feel, and how long does it last? Because some people feel like, a lot of people would say that it was just a moment that comes and goes,
like a sort of joy. Yeah, and it's interesting because again, you know, it's like love. You know, we've got this word love, and it can mean so many different things.
Right.
So we almost haven't got the syntax to describe all the different types of love.
Right.
And I think it's the same with happiness as well. There's different types of happiness.
Right.
And that can be quite confusing because the word is used in different ways.
Exactly.
So, you know, there's this sort of hedonic or hedonistic type of happiness, which is, you know, you're lying on the beach maybe, and the sun's on your face, and you've got your favourite cocktail in your hand, you know, and someone brings you a nice sort of bowl of chocolate ice cream, and you think, oh gosh, this is, you know, and you're feeling great in the moment, and you've got this hedonistic happiness, so we need that. There's also this sort of eudaimonic happiness, which is your sort of feeling of fulfilment, that feeling that you've made a difference, that you're living in line with your values. That's that feeling when you sort of go to bed and think, that's been a really good day, and I'm going to sleep really well.
Because you can lie on the beach with the ice cream and the cocktail and everything, and still be worrying about what's going on somewhere. So
exactly.
Do you see what I mean? So your surroundings aren't going to make you happy, are
so
they?
The book there. So do you feel the book is going to, sounds to me as if it's going to have such a wide range for readers then, so we're not just touching on, you know, the corporate person. This is going to be for a wide range of readers in all varieties of walks of life. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and absolutely, and it's to be based partly on, so, you know, I've studied this a lot, and I'm still studying it now because there's so much new stuff coming out in that field. It's you know, there's great things happening in neuroscience, in positive psychology. You know, so we're going to put all that in there, but mainly it's going to be based on the human experience, and stories of people I've spoken to about how they've found happiness, or how maybe they found happiness early but they've maintained it. And there is a lot to it.
I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah,
definitely.
and I think that the book that you write in, every given person that, because what we do is we jump into business without having done the homework on ourselves first.
I like that.
We jump into business just assuming that the product is going to sell itself, not realizing that we are the product that's created this synthetic item that we are selling to an individual. That's a statement of who we are. And you know, with your book there, I'm hugely excited because we are definitely going to do another drop in here when this book comes through there, because also you're an NLP practitioner. Which we haven't touched on today, which we'll come back in at another time. So I wish to focus on that also very much there. But for me, what the book sounds, if it'll put that foundation in there that's necessary, because, you know, and again, this is something that I experienced at your Zokiteer events, at your networking events, was the ability to help others grow in those events. I've never seen that in a networking event where, you know, you're allowed to learn from others, because practice does make perfect at these events. You know, going up and showcasing your business, it is about practice. But what we have touched on here is the foundations before you are physically practicing at the networking event. What you can do to make that easy for yourself.
Yeah, well, Neil's book could be a homework book.
Oh, it's fantastic! It is. It's fantastic. And, you know, doing the mirror work and all these wonderful things. So we just have a few minutes left here. So let me just get this in. Also, let me just drop in our website and contact details there for your listeners. You know, because to go on, if you want to go onto our website and read about our coaching programs and all these kinds of things that go on there, is www.accoladeacademy.co.uk. And of course, you can drop an email to us at info@accoladeacademy.co.uk there. And of course, there's Facebook and all kinds of things there.
I just wanted to. How much time do we have, Paul?
We just have a couple of minutes there, but go on, get one in there. Go on, Deb.
Thanks, love. Yes, I have to fight my way in. So, Neil, you've also put here, if you don't mind us talking about it, that you also had an experience where you thought you were going to pass away.
Oh, yeah.
And it was had a profound effect on you.
Well, yeah, there was two experiences in fact, but the one I'll
We have
I'll
about
explain.
2 minutes,
It's 2
guys.
minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, very quickly.
Okay.
And I'll talk about this in my book. I was at a point when I was feeling a little bit low actually, and I went on holiday, and I found myself in a room, and something happened in this room, and I have to tell you, this room wasn't just any old room. It was actually an external glass elevator on top of one of the tallest buildings in Tokyo,
Oh, wow.
and that's when an earthquake hit. Yes.
Wow.
But I'll tell you more about that in the book.
Okay. That is incredible.
Left on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Literally. Or an
Truly.
elevator hanger.
Truly. But let's also mention there that, if you go onto the Zokit website there, and just give that address again, which is zokit.co.uk. Or also get hold of Neil through hello@zokit.co.uk. Let's not forget that Neil does a lot of coaching himself, a lot of leadership coaching. And of course,
Workshops, masterminds.
Yes, and I want to just briefly test. I sit in one of Neil's masterminds. We do a monthly there, and again, I've experienced a lot of these events in my time there, all over the world, and this is probably one of the most fantastic ones I've been on. The way we've gelled together, and a mastermind is really about allowing yourself to connect with your wisdom and with you through trust and unconditional presentation to that night, no ego, and it's just been amazing.
Wonderful.
Again, what you've brought into that, Neil, is your complete healthy ego in how we present that. And we are going to now, we just run into the final few minutes there. So, Neil, I would just like to say on behalf of myself, and I should Deb, but actually I'll say on behalf of myself, Deb can say her own bit. I want to say thank you ever so much for coming along. It's been amazing having you on here.
Great to have you here, and thank you for. Now I'm feeling pressured because of the time.
Yeah.
Be so open and honest with us about your past and your future and where you're going. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And again, do go there. Do go to his website. Get hold of Neil. He's an amazing man. This guy is, the most spiritual, entrepreneur, generous person I have met in my life. And I love the way that you've dedicated all your life for the want for other people to better themselves within business. Now that is worth talking about, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That is worth coming in. Thank you so much again. So let's just give this a one-off. Absolutely. It's been amazing. It's been amazing. Thank you. And so what we say, emotions are your value.
And value is your business.
That's us at Athlete Academy, and we'll see you next week, because the topic of next week is going to be panic into money. We didn't cover it this week.
Wait for that then.
Neil stole the show. Yeah, we're done. Thank you guys. Speak to you soon.
Emotions are your value, and value is your business.